half art and half adrenaline.
Games are the most immersive aspect of entertainment that we have today. There's just nothing else out there.
I think there's a reason why a great game will keep you up till 3 a.m., but it takes a really, really good book.
I want to see gaming get next to every single TV set in the world.
But there's nothing easy about building a video game. For 3 teams and 1 corporate giant, the future will ride on how well they do.
You have very few people that are going, I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is, and I want to see new, creative, different stuff.
I mean, that's going to be so cool when the hangar bay comes down and the dust kicks off.
You can only really be innovative when you do stuff that's crazy and you take risks.
We got mad scientists. We got pirate zeppelins.
If it's not fun, it's not fun. It doesn't matter how pretty it is.
They've got plenty of ideas. They've got more than enough to make a great game. But can they make that game?
Who will succeed? That's the X Factor. A new world is rising, bigger than movies, bigger than records. From Pong and Pac-Man, video games have grown into a $20 billion industry. This is one game that's being played to win.
A lot of people say, well, what do you think about the competition? And I don't talk about Sony and Nintendo. I talk about Friends and West Wing and ER and The Sopranos, right? With gaming, we're competing for people's leisure time.
In 2001, Microsoft jumped into the game with a brand new console, the Xbox.
Who can compete with Sony? Who could you imagine coming out with a game console?
But the stakes are high.
I mean, it's incredibly expensive. It's billions of dollars.
More than $5 billion to be exact.
And it's something we know when we start, we're going to keep after it and after it. We're not going to go away. Just boom, 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 boom.
This is a new space. It's like trying to carve up the outer reaches of the solar system. Who owns that?
This is about more than just games. Microsoft may own the office, but they're losing the living room to companies like Sony. Enter the Great Green Hope. It's been called a Trojan horse, packing not just games, but enough technology to take over the living room. Because once you own the living room, you own the entire home.
You're in, darling. You're in her mind.
But it all starts with games. Because if the games aren't fun, the Xbox will fail. And fun isn't something Microsoft has ever been famous for.
For a game to be successful, it has to feel like it has one vision, you know? So that person has to be the filter. They have to decide what it is and what it isn't.
There are over 1,000 people and 11 separate groups trying to find fun inside Microsoft Game Studios. One of them is crafting a new game called Crimson Skies: High Road to Revenge.
So many people to get through.
The games take 12 to 36 months to develop. The path is never easy, and it's often a little strange.
Here's the beginning of the video, and here's the end. And now imagine what's in the middle there, and it's even better.
The story is about what if all the cool things that pulp writers wrote about and saw in the 1930s could actually come true. I mean, there are things involved in this game. Okay, when we were first conceiving this, and they said, I want to build something that's instinctive flying and has a phenomenal visual effect, but most importantly, it's interactive. It's like everything in this world does something. And we've got all that. We deliver that.
Oh, you're pretty good. Thanks.
They really have to deliver to show off to the director of marketing and the VP of the entire Xbox organization.
When is the ed meeting tomorrow? Do we know that?
3 o'clock is, I think.
And we have to have this done by 11?
For the Crimson Skies team, the pressure is on. The green light meeting is now less than 24 hours away.
They've been working really, really hard to get things done. I mean, because this is the time to shine, and this is what we're going to focus on at E3.
We all start over Jim's shoulder. This is how a computer game is written. First you find someone who can type really fast.
What was it, a $10 part went out? A power strip?
Yeah.
A power strip knocked out 4 servers, and so timing of it couldn't have been worse. Honestly, if I would have picked the worst time for this to happen, that would have been it.
With their computers crashed, yes, it happens to Microsoft too. The clock is ticking.
They ended up staying late last night and actually sleeping the entire, sort of throughout the day, and then working throughout the night, sleeping on and off.
This was probably around 4 in the morning.
Yeah, we did go and buy an air mattresses yesterday.
You can sleep just about anywhere if you're tired.
So I made sure to show up this morning and give them lots of candy and caffeine to get them ready. And you know, to be honest, I'm concerned that if they're going to be ready or not, but I hope they are.
Do you think maybe we can get Flapjaw by sometime this afternoon? And you don't think we can get that?
He was having all kinds of problems last night with it.
All right, well.
And he didn't know what the solution was at that point in time.
So nobody's working on Arizona now. I'm not going to like do a bunch of work and screw somebody else over.
Well, what happened yesterday just continued on through the night. Arizona was totally wrong, and Chicago wouldn't even run.
I need to take a break. I'll walk over and check your machine anyway.
Last time we met with the VP and the director, we told them we're going to build this brand new 4 missions, and we'll be ready to show you today at 3 o'clock. And now we may not make those timelines, and we've promised that to the VP and the director of marketing. So it wouldn't be good if we showed up with something else.
We have to show as best as we can. So if he doesn't think the gameplay is interesting, or he doesn't like the way the mission looks or feels, he might say, I don't want to show that at E3. And that's the end of the story.
Every game Microsoft owns begins and ends in a meeting with Ed Freeze.
Did anybody get any sleep? It was like
a good portion of the team did not, no.
Today they want to see what's it going to be like the press experience. And so that's up to me to deliver that feeling to Pete and Ed and show them a demo. And what we're going to show them is the Chicago mission. So let me tell you a little bit about Hearts and Skies. You're cast in the leading role of a high-flying adventure, and you're Nathan Zachary. This game is all about fast planes, beautiful women, low-to-the-ground aerial combat.
I think the team as a whole was a little worried and going, we don't have anything that's fun.
So Nathan's signature plane is the Devastator. So I'm going to get behind the train and take out some of those guns. Oh, just missed it. So there's another opportunity. Am I getting stuck? That's all right. I'll just use a missile.
Chad wanted to show Chicago, but the mission was difficult. The meeting kind of brought that out really fast and hard.
So there's 4 levels. There's the Arizona level, right?
Arizona.
There's the train level.
And I can show you the Arizona one.
There's Catalina and the water spout level.
I think we need to look at the other levels because this isn't working. I mean, the city looks beautiful. The water's very cool. Just the mission comes across as boring.
Yeah, there's not a lot of combat that happens in between.
You know, it's not just about that it's not fun to hold. We can actually see that he's not having fun. That's a problem.
The pressure to have a hit is definitely on the rise. But that's the business.
Great. Yeah, let's look at the other 2.
Yeah, want to show the storm?
They got the raindrops going.
Particle-based rain.
This is way better.
I'm driving around with this globe of darkness.
Right, yeah.
That's better than the old.
Yeah, very nice. And I get hit by lightning. Oh, I'm gonna die.
So there's the little water spouts, and then there's a big tornado thing?
Yeah, the classical. I
need that one.
Yeah, let's go on that one. Come on, let's do it.
You don't want to do that.
That's even better than the last thing he should. So, yeah, I think you get that storm scene up there, you catch him, and then just keep him as long as you can. All right, great. We got to move on to the next one.
Great work.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for staying up all night, too. Sorry the Source Depot let you down. Yep, there you are, right up front, right next to the aisle. Should be a good spot.
We won't let you down.
Adios, John. Yeah, thanks a lot.
For the Crimson Skies team, the E3 Expo will be the test.
E3 represents a battle for the holiday shoppers, and we let it all hang out here. It's a madhouse.
No one can do it better.
In 2001, Microsoft came to E3 and struck out.
Hey, doing, make your way in.
Now they're back again. Back to compete against Sony and Nintendo for the hearts and minds of 60,000 retailers, press, and compulsive gamers.
Oh, at E3, Crimson Skies High Road to Revenge was one of the pushes. It had a themed area. We had it on banners, we had it on cars. We even had a model, one of the characters from the game, taking pictures of people. So it definitely was shown.
Took a little learning curve at first to get hold of the controls for the balance. twisting and speed of the aircraft. I noticed earlier there was one thing you could track your enemy by hitting the X button, I think, but then it kind of gets away from that and you lose it.
And we found out that, yeah, people like the game, they think it's fun, but it's not this groundbreaking game. But it wasn't one of those ones that stood out.
The window of opportunity for the Crimson Skies team is disappearing fast. 50% of all games are sold in the Christmas season.
It's not a choice we have. We have to make Christmas.
They'll be in deep trouble if they're not ready for December.
Now we're finally getting to the point where we can do real 3D scenes that are starting to look like movie scenes.
I'm not so sure about this.
Come on, Abe. You want to kick that gabbit and save your brothers or not?
We can place characters within those scenes, and they can have expressions. That's the start of doing so much more with this business than we've done before.
I think you better stay out of my way.
Here, the textures look pretty good.
Yeah.
Stretching.
I think you better stay out of my way.
There are many teams trying to build the next big game for Microsoft.
Here's the story we're going to tell.
For one independent studio, it's all about building a world, an odd world.
In games, every story needs great gameplay. Because if you look at games that succeed, some of them have just god-awful stories, but the gameplay can be great and they'll win. It's really about the play. If you really want to integrate story to gameplay, which is what Oddworld's been about from the beginning, it's a complicated weaving of technology, artistry, storytelling, character development, all those things. And in Munch, we didn't get a lot of what it was supposed to be.
Okay.
And it got acclaim, and you know, it won awards and different things of that nature. But that doesn't mean it was what we wanted it to be, and that doesn't mean we were happy with it. You know, for me, it was a devastating experience. I wanted it to be so much more, and you knew it could be so much more. But being able to manifest what you see is a whole different game.
Somebody's really pissed off.
And so I thought the wisest thing to do, and the most exciting thing to do, was to give Abe and Munch a good vacation. You know, treat them well and say, look, guys, you get some time off. And then go, okay, you know, Steve, you're in the picture now. What? So, okay, here's what's going on, Raymond. You know, we got a new type of Minotaur.
Like, the Steve is definitely capable of being both very, very frightening and also being very lovable and almost vulnerable in a way.
Let's start with like a horse body and more of a gorilla upper body. And let's start there.
And we start, you know, taking in his, you know, start with a general sort of expression where he's playing his poker face.
And then what you found was something kind of traditional coming out of that. We go, oh, okay, let's cut out his whole midsection, shorten the legs in between the front legs and the back legs, and let's make the torso more human, but the arms more gorilla, and the head more like Clint, gene spliced at birth, you know, cross-fertilized with a lion gorilla. You know, okay, so Clint, lion, gorilla. Let's come up with a face that matches this guy. He's got to have horns.
What we've done with the Steve is we've taken aspects of something as stately as a lion and started applying things that were almost like a surfer bum to his hairstyle and to his you know, piercing blue eyes. Very reminiscent once again of Clint.
And then you figure out a point in time, which you call the prototype. At what point in time can we demonstrate a good feeling for what this game will be, even though it won't be complete?
And then we start giving him slightly more empathy in his eyes, and then you start really bringing out, you know, what he's starting to feel, but still with the sense of trying to hide it. And then occasionally, brief outbursts of emotion will come out. But then he goes straight back to his poker face.
But most characters, most games, never make it into the stores. With their green light meeting approaching fast, the question for Oddworld is whether Steve will make it from an intriguing prototype into an actual game.
Xbox was explicitly designed to free the creativity of the developers.
All the time, when I sketch, I always take a marker and just hit the color
hit the edges of a drawing, just to bring out the energy out of the drawing a little bit. And all I had was a green pen. And after about 20 or so sketches, people were coming around my office going, can't you see anything but green, you know? And, you know, to be honest with you, you know, it's kind of serendipity that it happened that way, you know, because if you think about the color of green, it really represents technology. And when I ask you, you know, if the witch is boiling a little secret sauce, what color would be the smoke coming out of the little pot, or the steam coming out of the little pot? It would be green.
So we jumped around with Xbox. Boy, at one point, it didn't run your microwave oven, but it could tell you how much time was left, you know, for popping the popcorn. I mean, we talked about it being fundamentally a PC, fundamentally running Windows, where you could do anything that Windows could do.
The console is a tortilla chip, man. The salsa comes from elsewhere. And the fact that Microsoft also developed games in a separate division, don't let that confuse you. It's the tortilla chip, man. It's there to provide the structure to hold the salsa, and that's all it does.
There was some concern that the gaming community, the console gamers, would not enjoy the product or value the product if they perceived it coming from Microsoft, that big brother in the sky. So if you notice down in the lower right-hand corner, the front bezel on the product, black on black, there's a very respectful but subtle presentation of the Microsoft logo. The controller development process is much more difficult than the box, than the console.
You know, I'm hoping to get a little bit of a little gun trigger.
Okay, and where would the trigger go?
Trigger goes probably right here. The controller should feel naturally in that posture. The reason why is because you can have hours and hours. We expect you to have hours and hours of gaming because you're just so into it. And then we take it down to the model shop, and we start cutting shapes. And you know, some people use clay, some people use foam. And you know, in my case, I use foam, and I start carving the shape out of literally a square block of material.
And there's a respect you have for someone that's passionate about a concept. You know, Horace oftentimes looked like he had just fallen in love with the idea.
Then what we do is we'll scan it into a computer. And then what we'll do is we'll go down to the CNC machine and just get a basic shape going. And then we'll add Bondo, subtract some foam, and then we'll take it and share it with the team after we get all those minor adjustments made.
With their delivery date looming, the Crimson Skies team is working hard to overcome initial setbacks from E3. They need to stay on schedule.
Cinematic is basically an in-game movie. What we need to do is create a balance between gameplay, which you want to have going most of the time, and the story which sort of grabs you and pulls you through the gameplay so that you're interested in continuing forward. We hired Blur as a company that has a well-rounded creative talent pool. So it becomes a collaborative process between Microsoft and Blur.
I've done a few sketches. Okay. So let's see, I got them right here toward the end.
They're basically asking us to raise that bar so that when this cinematic is viewed, people are absolutely blown away and they want to, they can't wait to get to the next cinematic.
If this thing is going to blow up, we're going to need a lot of stuff that's going to blow up real good. Like gas, big gas tanks, that kind of thing.
We start with a script. Once the script has been set, we go to the next stage, which would be storyboards and storyboard animatics. Storyboards are done by people like Chuck, who read the script and give us really quick drawings, just so we can get a visual idea of what the story is telling. The next step after that is to do a full-blown animatic. And an animatic is where we actually do CG process, so we'll have moving characters, so we can start getting a rough layout of how big things are going to be, how a plane is going to move in a certain scene, things like that. Our animators will then go through the shots and we'll actually start mocapping.
Motion capture is simply capturing an actor's motions, and then we can apply it anywhere. I run 12 cameras at the same time that capture each of these very reflective markers.
There you go. Look at that. Really, honestly, what better job is there than to put on clothes and pretend you're in a video game, which is what you grew up doing, is going, hey, wouldn't it be cool to be able to do that? I get to do it. Careful down there. There's no markers down there.
We have our actors come in
act out stuff based on the animatics. He'll actually watch the animatics.
In this scene, James, you're out to retrieve your plane from the bandito who's stolen it. And the way you're doing that is you're going to jump from the wing of the biplane down into the wing of your plane, fight with the bandito, pull him out, and fly away. Okay, roll. Action.
Once I capture the actor's motions, I then hand it off to the animator, which takes that animation and applies it anywhere in the scene that he needs to do. It's now in a 3D space that he can go under it, over it, around it. He can do anything with it. We use facial motion capture mostly for the, once again, like the body capture, the subtleties of the actor's motions. It is the actor's subtle lip motions, eye motions, cheek motions that can really see in a facial capture.
15, capital 3, Maria, take 4.
Thank God it's you. I tried to take the plans for the fuel injector. He was obsessed. When the old man resisted, he killed him. In cold blood, Nathan.
And then at the end of that process, when all those little pieces are done, we'll have what's called a scene assembler. And that guy comes in and takes all those parts and puts it all together in one big file and starts spitting out actual rendered frames.
Well, Nathan Zachary, now that introductions are out of the way, I have a question for you.
Sure.
You've been tangling with Los Dos Muertos?
What we want is an experience that just makes it very hard to stop. You want to keep playing, you want to keep being engaged with either the game or the story or both at the same time so that it becomes this very exciting, visceral experience.
But will the team's work be enough?
That thing fly?
60% of all games fail. Crimson Skies doesn't want to be one of them.
My hanger! Great!
I think the game was always a great game, but was it a AAA game? Yeah, that was questionable, and we wouldn't really know till after E3. And we found out that, yeah, people like the game, they think it's fun, but it's not this groundbreaking game. So this playtest group is very, very important because we're trying to figure out how can we make this game really, really exciting.
So just come on in and have a seat.
We bring in gamers, kids usually between the ages of 16 and 30, and we let them play our game.
In playtest, our participants tend to be a little bit more on the hardcore side. These are people who play a lot of these kinds of games. They have a lot of opinions about them.
So the goal is to see if they think it's fun, what they like, what don't they like, and to see how easily they make it through missions, how they like the controls. And then afterwards, we bring them in for a small focus group where we get to talk to them about what they thought of the game, and then we can also ask them other questions about gaming or overall what would they like to add to the game.
Basically what I'd like to do just to start us all off is start talking. What was your experience like playing the game?
I don't know. I like to see my enemy when I'm fighting against them.
You blow up things too fast and you don't really have any. I mean, you have satisfaction the first time you hear an explosion, but then, it gets to be, oh, ho hum, I just blew something else up.
They were a little bit different, but they just kind of got repetitive because you're doing the same old thing, just kind of a different setting.
The mission seemed kind of short.
The real difference that we're looking for in a playtest setting is the difference between a bunch of people saying this is a great game and a bunch of people saying that this is a moderately good game. Moderately good doesn't cut it, basically.
I can't save a game. I can't make a game. I only have so much control.
I don't know if you could really do a boat scene or a car scene, but something different, maybe different types of planes. So that would be cool.
Yeah, I kind of felt the game was really dull and boring.
So it's a scary thing to hear if I'm the Crimson team.
There are times when projects are going sideways.
I think the enemy were too easy to even bother looking back or to the side. I mean,
Does it make more sense to continue to put money into this and finish it?
It's just like every other flyer, pretty much.
And hope that it's going to turn around.
Definitely not a buy.
Or to cut our losses and decide it just didn't work. And those are difficult decisions.
In the final analysis, the guy I care about and the opinion I care about is what I did, how I see it.
The whole idea of making games is making something that's fun. And if you're not doing something that's fun or having fun when you're doing it, it's going to show. And I think that enough people weren't having as much fun as they should.
If there's one game that almost single-handedly made the Xbox, it's Halo.
I see great games made by people who have a vision from the start for what they think is going to be fun. Or even if they don't know, a lot of times they don't know, but they know a direction and they believe in themselves to like head out in that direction.
Halo didn't just sell millions of copies, it defined the box. Every other game must measure up against it.
Right at the beginning, I believed in Halo, and right at the end, I believed in Halo, and there was a bunch of times where it was hard to believe, where you thought stuff wasn't going to work, and where you didn't think everything was going to come together, or, that you were going to be done in time. We spent a long time in the beginning on Halo thinking about and trying to perfect the second-to-second experience of combat. You and the guy on the other side of the rock, both of your energy shields are really, really low, and you've only got 1 grenade and 4 bullets left in your gun, and it's fun, to take him out. We actually started out as an RTS game way, way back in the days, a top-down game with lots of little guys running around. We learned a whole bunch about ourselves and about technology, doing that. You don't just want to be having this experience where your character looks cool, and you want to be playing. You want to play in the way that lets you win, that makes it more fun, to win and to play. And that view for us was first person.
Now, Microsoft's Halo team is trying to strike gold once again.
All right, hey, thanks for coming. So this is for our M4 build of Halo, Halo 2.
Microsoft bought Bungie Studios for Halo, and Bungie is now working on the ambitious Halo 2, a brand new mix of math and mayhem.
Because we believe so strongly in what we're doing, and because we'd probably be doing this for free in our spare time, if we didn't have the jobs that we have. You get a group of people who are really proud of what they do, and their attitude is, don't mess with us, let us do our own thing. We're gonna do this crazy thing, and in 2 months, if it doesn't work out, find something else to do. And if that doesn't work, the next thing will work.
Admiral, tell your men to hold their positions.
In Halo 2, we're trying to take the combat from Halo 1 and put it into more interesting contexts.
With respect, what sort of reinforcement have you got?
So instead of just getting from point A to point B, you'll be fighting the Covenant off of the space station that they're trying to capture. We're also working on the scale. In Halo 1, we had a lot of grassy hills or small cliffs, whereas in Halo 2, we're having entire space stations that are giant weapons that you can aim and fire. We're having big levels that take place in the wreckage of the previous Halos, trying to increase the epic nature.
The great teams are the synergy between the programming and the art. I mean, that's what's really different about a game, is it's a super high-tech programming combined with incredibly creative, artistic thinking. Those two come together. When they come together well, that's when it works.
My main goal is to make sure that all the audio in the game is as good as possible. And that comes down to the voice acting, the atmosphere of the ambient background sounds, the sounds of the weapons and the vehicles, and then trying to bring some emotional content to the game by appropriate music that is dynamic. Mixing all that together is actually the hardest thing to do, because we don't know how someone might say a line, and if a grenade goes off at the same time, and then Cortana, the person who's telling you something very important, starts speaking at that very moment.
Move now!
That is something that we have to try to anticipate. So what happens is every time a player plays the game, that's the final mix, because the game is being mixed in real time.
Yeah, man, that's weird. His ass just looks so flat there. That was the thing I was seeing today. I guess that's just the way it is.
Bump mapping is taking a two-dimensional drawing and applying that to the 3D world. The darker you draw, the deeper it is. The lighter you draw, the higher it is. It's all an illusion. So we take that and we translate it and put it into our video game to add a lot more detail to our characters, our vehicles, our environments. Now with Halo 2, we're starting the whole process with the bump maps. Everything gets a bump map. Everything gets the right shininess level, the right amount of detail. The whole game is going to look different. It's immediately noticeable. Just to give you an idea, the Warthog, the model without any texture, without any bump maps, with the bump maps, and you can see the tire treads, and then with the texture and specular mask, so things shine the right way. Wherever it's dirty, it's not shiny. We're taking it to the next level of detail. And of course, all fakery, nothing really there without the bump maps.
You can only really be innovative when you do stuff that's crazy and you take risks and you do things wrong. I really believe that if you're doing something you feel comfortable doing, if you're doing something that's safe, that you are sure is going to work out perfectly, you're not really going to do anything very interesting. Your end product is not going to be that interesting.
Admiral, tell your men to hold their positions. Reinforcements are on the spoke.
The risks are high this time for both Bungie and Microsoft. Halo 2 will have to deliver.
They took him away.
Poor little schmuck.
Meanwhile, another odd world is about to be born.
This is kind of like the first semi-formal kickoff for this new production you guys have been working on a long time. So what I wanted to talk about is how we're breaking this up and what the fundamental paradigm shift is in this storytelling game from the last games that we made. In the last games that we made, what we had story, which always took place in CG.
My loneliness was over. I found somebody.
And then we had gameplay, which in itself never told a story. So they were very separated, and this time is different because we have the story, which can be told in CG. Then we have, inside the game engine, we can tell story too.
Okay, now we get your caviar.
Wow, they've done it, man. They've crossed that border between movies and games. You know, I'm having fun, and then I feel like I'm watching shots out of a movie, but it's my movie because that's my guy that I'm the guardian angel of, you know, that I'm pushing through this experience.
The king of all documents is the script, so it all starts from here. And basically, Lauren writes the script. Then we break down in a timeline all of the elements, all the CG, you'll see those are the red ones. You'll see gameplay, different types of gameplay. And this will be the whole timeline of the script.
You know, you've got to have great art, you've got to have great game design, but the code, in a way, is what you feel most directly. It's the interactive part of the game. These are one of the debugging tools that I use working on the game. And one of the things we've done is that for the basic character, we only use 2 spheres to tell where he can move when he's moving around the world. Basically, if those red spheres can go somewhere, the character can go somewhere, rather than testing every bit of his body.
You have to have stable technology running before you can actually build a game, because you need to know how it feels and how it plays. All of us game developers are in the same boat. We're all thinking about that because it's really technology-based, and the game player is going, I want the latest now. You know, and if I saw something really cool in that last game I bought last week, I don't care that you've been working on a game for 5 years and you're delivering next month. It didn't have the cool thing that I saw last week. I want that now.
For this game to get to the next level, Lauren and his team will need to get a green light from Microsoft.
So it's been a busy time since we've seen you last.
Yeah, I know.
So
they've been keeping this one secret from me for a while.
From everybody.
You have very few people that are going, I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is, and I want to see new, creative, different stuff, and I'm willing to pay for it. There's very few of those people out there, and Ed Freeze is one of those people.
Munch was like the heartbreak of my life. It was like, first of all, just looking at the character. I felt we were in danger of being perceived as Oddworld, the ones who create the underpowered heroes.
Right.
The
like,
weaker
is that
heroes.
my fantasy to play
a
fish?
Exactly.
My name is Munch.
So when we first start encountering Steve, we find a guy who seems like he's inspired by Sergio Leone and the Man with No Name series.
I think you better stay out of my way.
Yeah, I saw some really early pencil sketches, and this is different.
It's Clint Eastwood in many ways, of his persona, of the subtlety, of the facial expressions doing most of the dialogue. And what he is by trade is he hunts bounties. But what he has is he has a crossbow. So he'll walk around and it's all folded up into a device on his wrist.
I see.
And then when he wants, he can, and it folds out and then,
You know, you got to prove it's fun. I mean, that's the inescapable goal of the interactive business. If it's not fun, you're dead. It has to be able to get someone like Ed Freeze in 5 minutes to go, I see how you're going to build 20 hours of fun out of this one.
What he's saying is I'm going to shift from sort of a jumping, puzzle-solving mechanic to more of a exploring and shooting mechanic.
So these are the townsfolk, right? And the townsfolk are more like chicken bird influences. So
I see, okay.
So they'd have this kind of very, very arrogant.
Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we get ourselves a fine meal of pork and beans?
You're doing the voices, right? I think he really wanted to make a Western. That's what I think. I think he really wanted to. I know going into this that, because I know the ideas that he was experimenting with, I know he wanted to do a hero's quest.
He's something else entirely. Here's the real-time database that will be running around, right? So that's the same guy.
Right.
This is like after he grew horns. And the horns were still not completely finalized on it. I'd like to do some testing on it.
They've got plenty of ideas. They got more than enough to make a great game there. But can they make that game, you know?
So I think part of what you have to do is you have to convince someone like Ed that you believe. Go over to Munch and you can start. You know, you can slap him around, and you can see that in the game as it was.
You're so cruel to your character.
I know.
This is going to be this, and then there's an element of trust that has to carry along with that.
One thing I am a little concerned about the Steve out of disguise. If he gets too alien, he loses kind of the human quality to it. That makes you kind of relate to him, maybe? I don't know what.
Well, here's what I think
I'm not
happens.
sure exactly what it is.
What I wanted was for the audience to get connected to something before they found out what it really was.
Yeah. Do you want it to be a little edgy then?
Yeah, totally. So when Ed told me, so you want it to be a little edgy, I think what I probably thought was, and so do you.
It reminds me why I like to work with you. I mean, because I sit through so many pitches where there's just no ideas there. And you have almost the opposite problem, you know?
Yeah. You got a publisher who's giving you a lot of money to make something that they expect on time. And so you need to appease that and say, we are on the right track, we are doing well.
There are real limitations, too, to how long projects can go and how much money we can spend on them and what makes sense, right? I wanted a way to explain to him why I think he's had some trouble in the past. He just keeps piling ideas on, you know, and not focusing on deciding what's in and what's out, what we have time for, what we don't, what's good and what's bad. The game won't gel. It won't turn into something that works. You know, and now is kind of the time. It's like a year before release where you have to start making those painful decisions, and those are painful, really painful for someone like him who's got all these ideas.
He's excited about it. That's good in our goal. He needs to be excited about it. And at the same time, he's concerned it might be a little ambitious. That's good. That's a better concern than feeling like it might not be ambitious enough. You hope that your track record helps shine light that it's not insane, you know? But at the same time, there's a little bit of a madman at the wheel, and that's what you need to win these crazy races.
I thought I was going to have another game in the Munch series, and I walk out of here with a first-person Western. But with tons of great new ideas, and I'm really excited about it.
Right on.
So that's great.
Right on.
After 24 months and millions of dollars, Microsoft's Crimson Skies team is about to learn they're back to square one.
Now, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about where we are in Crimson. Let me tell you where I think we are. I think we're lined up to ship a pretty good game by holiday. I don't think that's good enough. I think we need to ship an awesome game. And I don't think we have time to do that between now and holiday. So we've all agreed that the right thing to do is to take some time and get this game where it needs to be.
You know, one of the strongest drawbacks to the game that we're working on is that it is a vehicle-based game, and they don't tend to typically do as well as a character-based game.
We need to make people go, wow, I never thought I'd see that. And right now we haven't delivered that. We're going to. I think what you should hear from this is commitment. Commitment from Ed, commitment from me, commitment from all of Microsoft Games to making sure that Crimson Skies is the AAA game you guys all want it to be.
Now we can take the time to say, hey, this isn't working. Let's go back. Let's take some time and let's figure out how to make it work. And that's what we're doing with that project, and that's a good thing. And when it comes out, it's going to be great.
Even better. This is a great opportunity. I mean, the fact that we have 6 more months to do what we want to do.
I think one of the things we could do better is help the player better understand perhaps how their actions affect the world.
And I'd like to work that into what you're saying, deeper gameplay, where there's more context for what you're doing. And it's very clear, but there's a lot of ways I can do it.
Where I think we're going with this is actually much more than just fixing something. We deserve credit for trying to reach beyond just flying and shooting and zooming through holes. But some of the things that we're doing right now don't really work very well. I think we just need to fess up to that and figure out what we're going to do about it.
Can I make a suggestion that if we want to be more engaging, the story has to change?
That's kind of been the elephant in the room, right? That mission design needs to change. So we're fessing up to that now.
I think a big change is being able to get out of your airplane. This is something everybody wanted to do from day one.
I think everybody wants to be a game designer. I think sometimes moments like this, they discover how tough it really is.
I would not want to be Mike, no. He's got some pretty hardcore decisions to make.
I was aware from private conversation that there were people who really felt the story was a mistake. The story we're telling about Nathan just isn't that cool. It's just not that much fun.
I mean, when we're talking about fun and we're talking about compelling gameplay, that's all the design side.
As far as I can tell, no one's really been pointing fingers at me. They've been pretty supportive about it.
Art isn't going to make or break this game. You know, if the game is fun to play, people are going to buy it.
Remember that we all made a lot of decisions, and we made those decisions. We tackled a lot of those decisions together. This is an adventure game in planes. And if we step back, a lot of what Indiana Jones is about isn't about Indiana Jones. It's about going to exotic places and dealing with lots of interesting threats. So the biggest star in an Indiana Jones film is the world he's in.
I think without the charm of Indiana Jones, all that stuff falls down. And I can give you an example. King Solomon's Mines. One of the things that has really broken down is communication between Mike's vision at the high level and the implementation at the middle and low level. And I can tell you that we're going to make some changes in the design team. We have to. If we're going to succeed, we have to make some changes. They're going to be pretty profound changes.
Right? What are you going to tell them?
The changes are profound. Contractors are let go. The lead game designer is reassigned. The studio manager eventually leaves for a competing company, and the entire Crimson Skies team gets moved to a different division.
We really wanted to make a big difference, a big change. It wasn't done lightly, but ultimately, I think it was the right thing to do.
You were born to take up the challenge.
The future of gaming is shifting with each passing month.
The game is becoming more and more about the character, how you relate to that character, and what that character is going through.
So it's relatively new that we can start thinking about telling stories in video games.
Oh, good boy. There's that pesky brain. Here's a tissue.
There wasn't really a back plot to Pac-Man, right? Now we can start thinking story first and blending that in with action, now that we've gotten to a certain technological level.
You can do anything in games, you know, and even more than in movies. I think you can have more just crazy, surreal things happen to you, and people accept it.
I can read minds.
The core of what I've been just trying to do is team up with the best in the world and try and give them the resources they need to do their best work.
You know, you really aren't as hideous as people say.
Our characters are growing up as the business grows up. So the future is going to be those characters as actors in our, whatever you want to call them. Call them games, but it's not really the right word, you know?
Nathan, come in. Quickly. Doc, what's with you?
4 months have passed for Crimson Skies, and now the team faces its key hurdle, the green light meeting. The game will either get the go-ahead or be grounded for good.
Looking at the build this morning and playing it, I mean, I really feel confident that we're doing the right thing. But then again, fun is subjective, and we'll see what Ed thinks.
Bill Morrison has been brought in from Totally Games in San Francisco to head up the design team.
Anyway, so the Play the Movie was what we started with 2 years ago, a very linear experience. What we wanted to do was fundamentally change the way the game is played. We were looking for someone much more technically savvy. Basically, someone who could get down in there and really meld with the tool.
What we're showing him today, I think, in a lot of ways really shows that, you know what, this redesign is right. And I think we're going to prove that to him today.
You want to play the story mission, Ed?
Yeah, I'll play real quick.
Okay. So you've unlocked the boss mission now.
I think the direction that we're going now definitely makes it different from other games in its genre.
Oh! There you go.
Yeah, nice.
They came to me and they were like, okay, you get to make the Zeppeter mission. I was like, what? Okay, and I got all giddy and stoked about it. And you know, we were here till 3 in the morning a couple of nights, just getting everything working right and getting the electrical bolts to converge and shoot. You know, I want my little brother to be like, oh man, I was playing the game and then this big Zeppeter came out and I totally ate this Zeppelin. I want to be like, yeah, you know, I did that punch in the arm, you know. You know, that's the cool stuff. It's fun.
So it seems to be a...
There you go.
Hey, I won. How about
All
only
right.
one down. All right.
Look, you got $5,000.
Everybody believes in what we're doing. And they see, based on the demo that we have right now, is that it's working, and it is fun. And I think that's giving everybody a lot of renewed hope and a lot of confidence in the game.
All right, that was very cool. Very cool. Yeah, it's looking great.
For Crimson Skies, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. After 9 additional months and millions more dollars, they are once again on track for a Christmas delivery, Christmas 2003. But the bar keeps getting raised. The delivery dates for the Halo and Oddworld teams have been pushed back into 2004, a sign of increased pressure, increased expectations.
We want to give people an experience that they've never had before and didn't expect. And the big new thing is live, of course. It's just become totally obvious to us that this is what we need to do, what we want to do.
Xbox Live. It's an electronic playground, a chance for gamers around the world to play.
You got lucky, punk.
Against each other through the machine.
Dude, you suck. I rule.
Live, online.
Competitive element is one part, but the story element's the part that's going to resonate with the broader audience. And this is one of the reasons that we did Xbox Live.
If I really start winning, I speak in a French accent.
And if you believe that the gamer wants to be the protagonist,
You know, you don't even think about eating. I mean, food's like far from your mind. You know?
and really have more influence over the story, then you have to bring those people together.
But for Microsoft, the games are just level 1. The long-term strategy is to own your home, to have the whole house wired into Microsoft. With the box as the portal. Beyond Windows, that's the door to the promised land.
We may not be able to go back and capture people who didn't grow up with games and don't get interactive entertainment and why it's so much more fundamentally compelling than what's come before it. But we've got every kid in America playing games.
Now Microsoft just has one little problem. They have to get the games right, or none of it will happen. And that is the X Factor.